Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. I have finished another one. This is just a book on its own. It's a relatively short book as well, which is why I managed to do this in less than a day. The book is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. So we've got the front cover there. And I read this book on BorrowBox, which is an app connected to my local library. As a book lover, I greatly appreciate reading books for free because that means I'm not spending all my money on books, which is where most of my money goes anyway. The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes is 160 pages in contemporary fiction and literary fiction, and its target audience is adults. It was winner of the Man Booker Prize for Fiction in 2011. And I believe it's also adapted into a film, which I have not seen. It would be interesting to see this as a film, actually, based on how it's written. Yeah, I'll read the blurb and then tell you what I thought of the book. Tony Webster and his clique first met Adrian Finn at school. Sex-hungry and book-hungry, they would navigate the girl-less sixth form together, trading in affections, in-jokes, rumour and wit. Maybe Adrian was a little more serious than the others, certainly more intelligent, but they all swore to stay friends for life. Now Tony is retired. He's had a career and a single marriage, a calm divorce. He certainly never tried to hurt anybody. Memory, though, is imperfect. It can always throw up surprises, as a lawyer's letter is about to prove. So, this book is settled into two chapters, just 1 and 2. In the first chapter, you meet Tony. He narrates the entire story, and as you can tell from the blurb, he's not the most reliable narrator. The character is talking a lot about memories from his childhood, now that he's retired, and he cannot trust his memory about how things happened when he was a teenager and his early 20s. And there's also the fact that other people he knew have different memories of what happened. So yeah, the first about 50 pages probably, you hear majorly about Tony and his friends when they were at school. He talks about a teenager in their class who killed himself after he got a girl pregnant, and there's quite a few references to that throughout the book and how they treated the girlfriend that was left behind, how they talked about the boy who killed himself. It's a very, very important part of the story, and it does come back round again, I will say that. I'll admit, the ending of this book, I had to reread it a few times to truly understand what was happening, because it's a bit open-ended in a way, and down to interpretation. When I looked up the ending after I'd finished reading it to understand what I had just read, and then I reread the ending again to see if I got that, because at first it was just like, wait, what? I don't completely understand what's going on here. And it's because even though you are hearing what happened as a young man through Tony's eyes, you've got two stories being told, and you don't quite realise it until you get to the end of the book. Because, slight spoiler, I'm not completely sure how far into the book that you find this out, but basically you find out that Tony does not manage to keep in touch with everybody for the rest of his life, and you find out that Adrian, the smart friend from school, actually killed himself in his 20s, and Adrian was actually going out with Tony's ex at the time, and it all seems to come back to that relationship that Tony had with his ex, and how his memories of that relationship have been tightly tainted, and how he doesn't completely remember everything in regards to his relationship with her, Veronica, and then how much he didn't know about his friend Adrian's relationship with Veronica. And it kind of all comes back to when Tony met Veronica's family for the first time, and he stayed over at their house, met the brother and the parents, and he kind of developed a very interesting relationship with Veronica's family, especially the mother. The mother seemed to have a bit of a eye out for Tony, in a motherly way, because it came across in Tony's flashbacks that Veronica's mother was trying to look out for Tony. Don't let her hurt you, don't let her break your heart, that kind of thing. But then at the end of the book, when you find out more information about the family dynamic, this is very, very hard to talk about because of just the major twist at the end, which really did just completely baffle me at first. I read it 3 times and it was just like, wait, what? Then I looked it up and it was just like, oh. And then I reread it again. If you can hear bells, it's the cat. He's got a bell on his collar, which I cannot take off. Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch the film now that I've read the book. I'll admit, I wouldn't put this in like one of my favourite books I've ever read. It was very clever and give me a bit of a mystery, and I'm there. And there is a bit of a mystery going on, because mainly you're trying to understand why Adrian killed himself, because it's never really explained until you get the twist at the end of the book. And as I said, there is kind of a bit of a parallel to the kid that killed himself when they were at school, but it's not the same situation. And there's also the fact that the boy who killed himself when he was at school was in a very vulnerable situation, in the fact that, you know, he just got his girlfriend pregnant and he felt like he couldn't handle the consequences of that. And then there's also the fact that you've got the comments that the group made about that event while they were at school and how they were judging the people involved. So when you find out that Adrian has killed himself and you think back to the things that he said when he was a kid and how smart he was and his own outlook on life, yeah, it leads to a lot of bafflement on behalf of Tony and the reader in regards to what on earth happened there. But as I said, it comes back to Tony's ex and the woman that Adrian was going out with at the time, Veronica. And everything kind of comes a bit to a head, really, when Veronica's mother passes away and we find out that Veronica's mother had Adrian's diary and left that diary to Tony in her will. So when Tony finds out that he's been left some things from Veronica's mother, at first he's just like, wait, how on earth did she have Adrian's diary? And I don't understand why I've also been given some money by Veronica's mother. And then he uses time after that to basically stalk Veronica in a way by constantly bombarding her with emails saying, where's the diary? I'll admit, communication from Veronica throughout the book is kind of a bit harsh at times, because a lot of the time she's just like, you'll never understand this. There's a point when she only sends him like a photocopy of 1 page of the diary to try and make Tony understand, but Tony just completely just blanks what's on the page. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to understand because it's Adrian's mathematical brain. If you get algebra quite well, you might be able to figure out from the page what Adrian was writing about in his diary. As somebody who was never great at algebra, that page completely went over my head, and it's that breakdown of what was in that diary towards the end of the book when you finally figure out what was going on. I'll admit, it took me longer because I just didn't understand at all, and that is why I had to Google it afterwards, because it was just like, wait, is that saying what I think it's saying? But yeah, I'm not saying you have to understand algebra to understand the ending, but it is one of those moments when it's just like, wait. It's a lot to process when that twist happens, and yeah, it all comes back to Veronica and Tony's reaction to finding out about Adrian and Veronica. But yeah, it was a really clever book. I understand why it won awards when this came out, and the fact that it's such a short book at 160 pages, it packs so much into that 160 pages. Because when I first saw that it was a major film, and then I was like, oh wait, it's only 160 pages, I'm usually reading books that are like 500, 600 pages. So I knew I'd end up reading this quite quickly because I'm just such a fast reader, I just process things really quickly. But just getting through that first chapter, as I said, it's only 2 chapters, 1 and 2, I was just like, there's so much just in that one, I can understand how that can take up half a movie. Because you've got the flashbacks. I imagine, because I haven't seen the film, the way I imagine it is that it literally just follows Tony and his friends from at school all the way up to the point where you see Tony as an elderly man retired. And yeah, because you basically got Tony's entire life in there pretty much, when he was at school to when he retires. The fact that it was all packed in 160 pages completely baffles me, and the fact that there is just so much. There's so much. But it doesn't feel like you're being bombarded with information. It's done quite subtly almost. But I'll admit, there was so many times in the book when I was just like, Tony is so unlikable. The way he tells the story and the way he talks about his friends and his family and his ex-wife, he does kind of come across as a fairly neutral, nice person. But then there's just little things in that, like that, those gaps in his memory, and I'm just like, but no, there's something not right here, and I don't particularly like him. And as with an unreliable narrator, that's kind of the point. Especially when it comes to the twists and you find out things that he has omitted and things that he appears to have forgotten about from when everything was kicking off when he was in his 20s. That probably sounds so cryptic because I really can't say much, even though it took me like forever to figure out what I just read when I got to the end. Once you know, it feels so spoilery. Once you know what's happened at that ending, everything else that you have been told throughout the book suddenly just completely clicks into place. Yeah. Fascinating book. I have to look up the film actually now because I genuinely want to see it. Sense of an Ending. Julian Barnes. I was completely baffled. I don't know what else to say about it. But yeah, thanks for watching this one. If you have read this book, please talk to me in the comments about this, or you can send me like DMs on Instagram about it if you don't want to like spoil stuff, because I'd love to hear what other people thought about this. I have looked on Goodreads and stuff about what other people have been saying about it, and it seems that a lot of people are in the same boat as me as to in regards to the ending and being completely baffled at what was going on. It was just like, wait, what? It's almost that kind of moment when you get to the end and you're just like, wait, I feel like the majority of what I've read like through this narration has been kind of a lie, because you realise that everything that Tony has told you has been kind of cherry picked, and he's lied by omission in some places, and the fact that his memory isn't the most reliable either just adds to that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Thank you so much for watching. That was The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time with another video. Mwah. Stay safe, everybody.